talk about your services, shall we? One of the biggest mistakes that business owners make is they assume they know exactly what their customers want. As a result, you could spend so much time creating courses, producing products, or trying to sell your services with no luck at all. It's really not ideal, especially when you got them bills to pay. So in today's video, I wanted to share with you some tips and advice on how you can create services that are guaranteed to sell. So step number one is to do the market research, to find out exactly what your customers need, not by guesswork, by actually going out and finding out what they need by asking them. Because a lot of the time, the reason that we put something out into the world and it doesn't do as well as we maybe hoped and we're confused why, it's not because there's anything wrong with the solution you're trying to provide, the service you're trying to provide. Most of the time, it's the way it's packaged. And that's really important. I'll give you an example. If you watch any of these YouTube videos, you will see that I am a horrific video editor. I mean, the worst. I am terrible at it. Most of the time, you'll see that I just record, put it together and throw it up on YouTube because I don't have that skill set. Now, a video editor might come to me and they could say, hey, Chloe, I can solve that problem for you. I'm a great video editor and I can make sure that your videos look super professional. Now, on the surface, that sounds great. I can completely see why, and you could completely see why he could be delivering the perfect solution for me, except they wouldn't be. They wouldn't be because of two things. One, I don't really have the budget or want to spend that money investing in a video editor right now. If I do have a marketing budget to invest some things in, video editing isn't my priority at this time. And two, I'm not the kind of person to pay for that kind of service. My personality and how I am and my need for control and just my long-term goals mean that I would rather learn how to do it by myself and invest the time so that I have the skill set then to go and edit my videos in the future and I am relying on a service provider. So on the surface, it looked great, but in reality, I wasn't ever going to buy. Now that video editor might be scratching his head completely, or her head, completely unsure of why that is. It wasn't ever that the solution was necessarily wrong, it just wasn't delivered in a way that fitted my needs. Now, if they had asked me and we had had a conversation about it, then I could have explained my side of things and where I'm at and my perspective. And in the end, that video editor might have went and made a course on the subject and I could go and invest in the course and it's a win-win, right? So that's my point. It's not always the service that's wrong, it's just how you've packaged and delivered it. It's really important. So you have to ask your customers and it has to be open-ended questions so that you can really hear and listen to what they're saying. If you do the whole yes, no, do you want a course, yes or no answer, that's not going to give you anything. It's not going to help you to create something that is they're going to invest in and actually buy in because it delivers value. So there's a few ways that you can do this. The most obvious is to get on the phone with past clients if you have them and really just have a conversation, an open, candid conversation, ask questions, get their feedback, listen to their criticism. It's so valuable. The criticism is what's going to make you so good because it tells you what you're doing wrong and then you can go and fix it to make sure you do it right next time. So you could use Zoom, you could use any of the platforms to call or video chat. Video chat's obviously much more personal. You can also get on social media and do a live Q&A. Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn, any of these platforms are great for that. To get on, have a conversation with people and ask these questions and get feedback. You'll also find that the community within the comment section will start interacting with one another and you can listen to those conversations too because it gives you something to contrast and really figure out what it is they're saying in between the lines, right? You can look at Facebook groups. There's so many Facebook groups supporting small business owners and entrepreneurs where you can ask questions and get feedback, and people are always willing to be honest with you because they themselves are looking for the same feedback and they understand that we all are going to grow and get better together. You can look at forums like Reddit and Quora. These are great. This is where people go to ask questions, right? This is where people go to have these conversations. So by listening to them, you could see what people are looking for, where their issues lie, what it is that they actually wish could be created or want or need. You can also just put out a social media post asking people, right? Just be sure, again, open-ended question. And you can look at reviews for related products and see what was right, but more importantly, what was wrong with the finished product or service, because that's an opportunity for you to fix that and give yourself a unique selling point. So the second step is to come up with a beta solution, or as my American friends say, a beta solution, basically a mock-up service, a prototype. You know, once you've gathered all that market research, you want to take time, really take time, not just scan over it, really dig deep in and analyze it and come up with your best attempt at a service that is going to solve these problems in the right way, right, in the right packaged way. And when you do this, I want you to make sure you account for a number of things. What the service actually is, the name of it, who it's for, what problem it solves, and how does it solve the problem. So what is the end solution? And I don't want you to think about checking a box and saying, hey, okay, this solves this problem. Also think about the long-term benefits, the emotional benefits, and how this is going to make your customer's life better. How are they going to feel better in their life after working with you? Think about the process and how it all works step by step, and then also account for price, because we know price sensitivity is a very real thing. Finally, I want you to also account for objections that you can foresee. So questions that you're going to be asked, frequently asked questions, objections, and make sure you have answers for all of those as well, because all of that is going to impact whether somebody is going to buy from you or not buy from you. So step number 3 is to really test your prototype or your solution, finding out if it will actually sell in the real world. Now, testing out your services before launching has so many benefits. First, you avoid putting out something that is not going to sell. That's huge. 2, you gain enormous confidence. You start to become a leader and an expert in your field because you're learning through doing and engaging and interacting with your customers, refining the process more and more and building your confidence along the way, which is hugely valuable. 3, you gauge demand, like I said. So you're going to find out if people are really interested in this and excited for it to launch, if they're kind of like, meh, it's all right, which is not what we want, or if they're just not into it at all. And that's really important. That's really the whole purpose of testing. And with that, if you find that they are really excited, you're also able to build sort of this excitement and a buzz around when you do launch, and they're going to be excited for that time, and they're going to feel more invested because you invited them to be part of it. And finally, you kind of learn what you love about the process and what your real zone of genius is along the way. So that's also a benefit too. So how do you do it? How do you test out your new prototype solution, your service, in the real world? Well, if you followed me for any length of time, you'll know that I'm a huge fan of like whenever you're starting something new and you've never put it out into the world before, I always recommend doing sort of like a sample size group of people and offering it not for free, but for non-monetary compensation. So in other words, in exchange for feedback, right? You want to be able to do the service, play it out, see how the process works in reality. You'll be able to uncover any leaky holes that you can plug up, and you will be able to get questions and queries and feedback that you can use to refine your finished service that you go on to put out into the world. The only thing I would say when you do this, and this is from my own experience, and I've been burned a couple of times with this before I learned, is to always have like a written contract or statement or agreement in place so that the person that you are delivering the service to does agree to, you know, provide that feedback. You don't want to be doing work for nothing in return at all. So it's very much a two-way relationship, just like if you were selling your services, just that it's not money that you expect in return, it's feedback. Now, if you don't want to go down that route and that's not a good fit for you, you can create some sort of mini solution that kind of still gauges demand and interest and lets you know if people would be interested in that, such as like a free class or a free ebook, a mini course, something like that. And of course, you can also go out and just ask people like, I've got this, do you think this is something of interest? The only thing about when you say, hey, would you buy this? You can't trust people's answers. People will lie because people will say, yes, this is something I'm interested in, but the number of those people that go on to buy it are very small. So you want to try and limit that. It's something that you could use on the side, but don't rely on that as your only source of feedback as well. You can also do kind of strategy calls and anything that's a mini version of what it is that you're solving, and will give you instant feedback on what it is you need to fix and how you need to refine it, if you need to adjust the price, answer more objections, anything like that. Now it's time to clearly define your services, the end service offering. So you have done all your market research, you have created a prototype and tested it out in the marketplace, you've gauged all the interest, you've gathered all the feedback, you've tweaked and refined everything, and now you're ready to deliver a service to the marketplace. And you're able to do it with clarity and certainty that what you are going to put out there is of something of interest, of value, and is going to deliver results for your business and for your client, right? And so again, when you do this, you have to be very clear in your messaging. That's helpful research that you did in the beginning. This is where it's going to come into play, because you can listen to the tone and the language and the words that people are using, and you can address that when it comes to creating your sales pages and putting out your service offering and the messages that go alongside that. And again, you always want to make sure that you answer their biggest questions. You know, who are you? What do you do? What problem do you solve? How do you solve that problem? How does this make their life better? And how do you do this better than anybody else in the marketplace? I would also say you want to put together like a brand promise, something that clearly states all of those answers, all of those questions, but in a really simple one sentence way. You know, when you invest in this service, you go from feeling the before picture or the before state to the after state, and you will experience these results, right? So think of it like that. Think of that as your statement to work off of. And once you've done that, it's just a case of putting together that offer and coming up with your messaging and designing your sales pages and getting ready to launch and put that out into the world. Now, something that's really important to remember here is that even once you've clearly defined your offer and launched it, you will still have to refine and tweak and make it better as time goes on. Because every time you're putting it out there and every time a customer invests in you, you're going to gain new feedback, new ideas, new perspectives, new lessons, right? You're going to be always growing. We're always a work in progress. And so you're always going to have to refine that. But with each stage and every step and every time that you do that, you're going to become more valuable and better at what you do. And so people are going to see that, and the fact that you've brought them into that journey is really important, because what that tells them is you're willing to really care and be honest and transparent and invest in them. And when you invest in your customers, they will invest in you. So I hope you found that valuable. If you did, give it a thumbs up, maybe, and consider hitting subscribe and clicking the little bell icon so that you can be notified next time I post a video. And again, if you enjoyed this kind of video, if it's helpful for you, let me know in the comments. I always love to hear from you and hear about your experiences and how I can better help you through these videos that I create. So never forget, my friend, you have the power to change the world, one connection and one conversation at a time. Much love from my heart to yours. I hope we speak soon. Have a beautiful day wherever you are in the world.